Hey everyone, we're back for another episode of TinkChat today.
Yeah, in our usual
Set.
spot. We snuck down here while everyone
Is
is
upstairs.
upstairs, and so we have a little bit of quiet time. It won't be for very long, so we're gonna try and get this episode of TinkChat wrapped up before then.
Well, just in case during this time that we didn't release any episodes regularly, you guys forgot about us. I'm Andy.
I'm Eugene.
And today we'll be covering something that's very interesting for everyone. Well, it applies to everyone. Because we're going to be looking at changes in industry landscapes after the whole COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note is that since COVID hit, every episode has been about COVID.
Yeah.
But it's important to really understand why it's important to talk about this.
Yeah.
You know, we're no longer just simply talking about what the virus is doing, but how businesses and companies and institutions of all sorts are changing to adapt to this. I mean, we've seen the change in education. A lot of it's now going online and distant.
Yes.
Just recently, BC allowed students to go back into school, but it's voluntarily. Like you don't have to go back, and a lot of people are choosing to not go back.
And and I've been talking to some teachers. I was like, so what would happen to those students that choose not to go back? So essentially, they will now have double the workload, which they have to teach online and also manage the students that are at school.
Yeah.
So
the world is changing. I'm not sure if we'll go back to the good old days or the good old days before the pandemic, but what we do know is that things are pushing forward.
Yeah.
And things are pushing forward in drastically different ways for some certain industries. And for some, we don't really know how it's going to go back to, operation. I mean, the travel industry has been hit super hard. So we want to talk about some of those. We want to talk about what's happening also inside the job market that's also changing. This pandemic has made a lot of people really reevaluate where they should put their efforts in terms of their career paths. And how technology plays into this whole entire landscape. That was, post-COVID. We're not really
post-COVID yet, but it's just things that we should talk about because there will be an end, hopefully. And these are things that we should contemplate before it actually ends, so you have a direction to go to.
Before we jump into any of the topics, for the viewers, they're gonna probably notice my glasses fogging up as I'm breathing. For any of those that are wearing glasses, you know how annoying a face mask actually is. Every time you breathe, it just fogs up. So if that's a distraction, I apologize, but let's jump right in.
So as Eugene was talking about earlier about changing in careers and education, there's the first article that we have are about engineers. So I was reading about this article about them having to go back and do more education during this time of pandemic, because engineering, this industry is like rapidly changing every single second, and you do things differently, or you can do things a different method. So this whole article talked about engineers have to go back to learn different technology, like maybe they have to utilize like artificial intelligence, 3D printing, or robotics in their next projects. So they don't actually have a skill gap when they go back, when this whole thing blows over.
I mean, it's important to note that for a long time, I mean, we have been I've been in what I would consider this very interesting time of very continuous growth. Of wealth and business growth of all sorts. What has actually been shown with this COVID-19 scenario is that those businesses that are able to capitalize on some of these really cool technologies, these emerging technologies, are the ones that are really propelling and accelerating forward. And so It's no surprise to me, at least, that engineers are going back and saying to themselves, okay, well, this world is moving towards one where automation, AI, robotics are going to really start to set the pace.
Yeah.
Right? And ask themselves, well, do I have those skill sets? If I don't, maybe I need to top them off.
Yeah.
And once they graduate, they're going to look at companies, or companies are going to look at them, vice versa. Of do you have these particular skill sets that are going to pertain to these areas? How can you help us be a little bit more agile, more competitive? All the questions that companies in the past asked.
Yeah.
But now, because of social distancing, viruses, future pandemics and crises that will come out,
it's so much more important.
Can we run our company remotely?
Yeah.
And can we run it remotely and yet still be
the same effectiveness,
or if not better?
Better. Yeah.
Right. The cool thing about robotics that a lot of people know but they don't talk about is the fact that unlike humans, it can run 24/7.
Yes.
I mean, look at some of the biggest companies out there: BMW, GM, all those massive factories.
Yeah.
Most of them are robots.
Yeah.
Robotic arms that move parts, that do things. And there's maybe a handful of employees that oversee the robots, making sure that they run well. And then they leverage the humans for what humans are really good for, which is
intricate stuff,
the
wiring,
the design work, the things that robots today can't do, but maybe 150 years from now may be able to replicate.
Well, it's just like as we talked about in previous episode with the automobile industry. It used I believe it was AI who designed the thing to be a lot more efficient, lightweight, efficient, less material, faster print time, stronger.
Yeah.
And that took it 2 seconds. Yes, there was a lot of efforts from humans before that, but after it got the general idea by inputting the whatever they need, it spit out a design in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and once that algorithm is made, it can keep spitting out designs in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So, and you don't need somebody sitting there. You need a computer algorithm, somebody that did the coding.
And presenter,
And then they, keep pressing enter multiple times over. So it's not a surprise to me that engineers are doing this. Engineers and 3D printers and robotics, I mean, that's already a natural fit to begin with.
Yeah.
But, the biggest challenge now is, well, we're half the time remote.
Yeah.
We're half the time not sitting this close.
Yeah.
So there is now a lot of those going on, and companies will need to consider that as well.
Yeah. So with the engineering sector having to do that, we'll just move on quickly to the next one, which also has something to do with automation, which is manufacturing industries. That's also hit quite hard during this time.
To note, everyone got hit really hard in this time, but certain sectors, I think we're going to see a little bit more of a prolonged effect that the COVID scenario got. I mean, travel is not coming back for a little while. Entertainment, casinos, those aren't coming back for a little while. But manufacturing got hit in particular due to supply chain and distancing. Yeah. And so if I can't be in the same space as you, how do I work with you?
Yes.
And then also the increase in sanitization.
Yes.
Right. So if everyone needs to be 6 feet apart, you really quickly realize that a manufacturing facility that used to be able to take 20, 30 people, now you may only be able to take 15.
Yeah.
So naturally you'll see a decrease in efficiency if you can't put so many people together. And then the retooling and then the respacing of everything, right? A lot of companies I know have to really tweak things and move things around. I mean, us included. Yeah. But for us, it was more of a redesign and diversification from where we were, but an expansion for what the team was really good at, which was the design work and then the manufacturing stuff that we were doing.
Yeah. And what also helps that we had 3D printers to help us rapid prototype with that as well.
Yeah, we were right place, right time, right technology, right people. And, will that continue to be the case? Yeah, I think as the world changes, we will see more of these moments where we need to be a little bit more agile. Yeah. A little bit more, having the capabilities to pivot. and just iterate until we get to the point where, well, we kind of get close to version one,
Yeah.
and then start deploying. I mean, this is not rocket science. This is not something we invented. This has been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But supply chain, I think, will continue to be a big problem. I think there has been a huge movement, and we've seen it ourselves. We've seen it with other companies. Bringing the manufacturing back home, for lack of better words,
going for domestic
suppliers. Is a big one. You know, if this thing was to have a wave two, can we see ourselves needing to start to look at made in Canada, made in North America products?
Yeah.
You know, the supply chain turnaround time. What happens when something goes out of stock? I mean, we know one thing: shipping has gone through the roofs.
Shipping has gone through the roofs. All the times are not accurate, even though it says it's going to deliver tomorrow.
Yeah.
We may expect delays everywhere.
And will it ever go back to normal? I mean, I think after a while, vaccine comes out, everything.
Set protocols after everyone figures everything out. Probably, yes.
But in the intermediate time, I think we're going to be faced with, you know, high shipping costs, long delays, and if you're buying from offshores, well, that's one nasty equation to work with. Yeah.
So let's segue into the next article that we looked up. It's essentially about Honda's manufacturing facility in Canada. Ever since COVID started in March, all 3 of their manufacturing facilities were shut down.
Right.
Because they couldn't operate. And they were talking about, is this the time that we have to think about maybe looking for a supply chain that gives us more security? Perhaps thinking domestic. And like, they were also faced with all these things. We were about to unveil a new Acura product, but then with the whole COVID, with you can't have more than 50 people in the thing, new ways to unveil their products. For example, they did just a video revealing instead of a whole event, which they would spend $1 million on. And right now with video unveil, they spent literally less than half of the budget that they have for it.
This is a tough time for, I think, a lot of companies looking to unveil new product, very new, interesting, innovative ways to capture the audience attention. I mean, if you think about everything that we see and hear on the news, most of the stuff is about COVID these days.
Yes.
You're not hearing about X and X is launching a new product. I mean, we heard about the whole Tesla rocket launch thing. And I think that was probably the biggest thing we heard short of this COVID thing in the last 2 months.
Yes.
Right? And so navigating that is going to be challenging. Are people going to be developing new products? I know a lot of new products were canceled in terms of their launch and then or delayed until a later date. I mean, look at all the movie industry, all the movies. I think for the rest of this year, I think they said they were all canceling production, moving everything till next year. And I mean, we're in Vancouver. It's a big filming city.
Yes.
I know a lot of people who work in film that had all their jobs cut.
Yeah.
And so unveils, like product unveils and product launches, I think is going to be pretty rare for the next 6 months, give or take.
Even if they do reveal it, it won't be a fancy event like we had before.
Yeah.
Which I personally think that it might not be as effective.
Right.
Because let's say if we're revealing a car, I would want to see the product there. I want to sit in it. I want to, But with the video, like everything's so far at a distance. Or maybe I'm just old school.
No, I think you're right. I think a lot of things are moving to online.
Yeah.
I mean, all our meetings are going to online platforms.
Yes.
We try as best as we can to, physically be as close as possible, but there's a certain level of distance. I mean, this is not normal, but there's a certain level of distance that we should adhere to. I mean, number one, to keep ourselves safe, the employees safe.
Yeah.
But I mean, that also means that everyone else is thinking about those things. No one's got the mental capacity for. I wonder what Honda's launching, or I wonder what X company is launching. They're all still in that mode of how do we stay safe? How can we stay open?
Yeah.
And how can we generate revenue in this market where like half the stuff is still shut down.
Yeah.
And I mean, in BC, we're still on phase 2.
Yeah. Well, things are starting to open back up. School's back in session, but most things are still not essential, so they're still closed.
Yeah.
Which as Eugene said, everything's transitioning online. So one thing that Honda was talking about was, would we change to focusing more of our efforts into selling cars online?
Oh, transforming themselves into a bit of a Tesla model of sorts.
Yeah.
You know what? Industry change all the time. Businesses change. They have to adopt. Otherwise, you kind of fizzle out and die.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't buy a car online. It's such a big ticket item, and with a click of a button, that's a lot of power.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, businesses have to evaluate.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, given that half the time we're stuck to our phones and our computers already, anyways, that this is a good way and a good timing to make that transition, if that transition makes sense.
Yeah.
And maybe have smaller showrooms where you can go in and take a look at cars.
Yeah.
But you don't actually need a giant showroom like the current models. Of, you know, maybe okay. I'm not sure. But it is pretty evident that things are changing.
Yes.
I think I know. I do know people that wish it could go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain degree it will go back a little bit,
but not to full extent.
I don't think so. Yeah.
With this whole pandemic scare.
I am one to be for moving forward and innovating. I mean, what's great about this whole entire scenario, I'm just looking at the positive side of everything, is that businesses are changing, innovating, moving forward. Business models are changing, innovating, moving forward.
Yes.
Sure, I think the past gives us some glimpse of what was really, really good for the time. But in today's world, looking back at that, there was a lot of holes that we didn't plug.
It wasn't good enough. If they stayed the same, they would die off eventually. Right now.
So I'm all for it. I think it will probably be better for everyone.
Yeah.
Though I think social distancing is mentally draining for some people. Staying at home all the time. It's that part will, I think, gradually go back to normal.
Yeah.
But I think businesses fundamentally will have learned a huge lesson from all this and be a better business post this if they are able to kind of find their way through it.
Moving on to the next article that we had was actually very interesting, and what this article kind of talked about, I think it was just a brief portion of it. The portion that I was very intrigued about was about students these days who saw the impact of COVID on their parents, on probably their siblings, where, let's say, parents were laid off from their job. Students come out after having a huge student loan debt. They can't find a job. Like, especially all the students that are graduating this year, the job market is so bad. Like, they won't be able to find a job. Would that deter them to change careers? Would they go into trades?
Or instead of like university and academics?
Instead of high academics, they go into trades instead for a more stable income, because most trades are unionized and they're also a necessity, right?
Right, plumbing, electricians. There's always a job there because somebody needs a hand. A handyman type of scenario. I'm not sure. I look at that, and yes, the job market is in a bit of a weird place. Where businesses that are struggling won't hire. Businesses that are struggling will lay people off. But this is also the right moment to, as a business, to say, okay, there's a giant pool of really smart people out there. I want to pick those people up. If I can, make my business work.
But that would just mostly benefit giants. I mean, corporations are huge, like Google, Apple. They have the money to actually attract all these young and bright individuals, while medium businesses, small businesses, who would want to work for them when I can work for Apple, right?
Well, I think there's two trains of thoughts here. There's that the Giants
Yeah.
win at the end of the day because they have the capital.
Yeah.
They were capitalized, well capitalized to begin
Yeah.
with, and then there is the our counter argument for the medium and small size businesses that go, this is a good opportunity to
Hmm.
pick up really great people.
Yeah.
You know, the job market is tough. Maybe we're able to be a little bit more competitive in our wages, and
Mhm.
because everyone's looking for a job,
Yeah.
we're able to cast a bigger net and get more people.
Mhm.
Whereas if you were to be dealing in a scenario where everything is fine, naturally everyone wants to already work for the Giants,
Yeah.
and so you don't get the choice of people.
Okay, I see
Right.
what you mean. Like,
I'm not 100% sure if the trades will see a pickup. I think there'll probably be a couple people that will say, "Oh my God, my career path is leading me down to this place that I don't know if I'm going to get a job
Yeah,
once I come out."
yeah.
But remember how we talked a little earlier about the engineers going back?
Yeah.
If I was a student, well, the first thing that would probably pop into my mind was, I wonder if I can pivot in my current situation and go back to school and say, I need AI, robotics, and 3D printing skill sets because I'm still in school.
Yes.
What can I pick up that then allows me to say, okay, the future looks like this. I'm going to position myself best for 5 years later.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a combination.
So you're essentially saying students are taking a look at this from the what am I thinking about?
From the angle of, well, not now, not the immediate now, but the future once they graduate.
So, yeah, looking for a solution already.
Yeah, I think they would. That makes sense to me. You know, I don't think a person who is in a field that they love will all of a sudden go, my future career looks like it's a dead end.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
The current COVID situation. Thus, I'm going to go into plumbing. I know very few people that would do that.
It's just it gives a job security, right? A sense of security.
I think you have to kind of love plumbing to a certain degree to want to go into that, or electrician, or any of the trades. That is a very hands-on type of approach.
Yes.
If you were into biology, you wouldn't all of a sudden change into electrician.
You
trade.
You won't.
And so that's what I mean by I think a lot of people will evaluate. Some people will think to themselves, oh, you know what? I am handy enough to go into those areas. I will transition to those.
Yeah.
And then for those that love what they're doing, have a passion for what they're doing, they're going to evaluate and probably ask themselves, what skills do I need in 5 years, 10 years? And what can I get in my immediate now in terms of my courses and accessibility to those knowledge base to say, I can set myself up for success if I knew these things once I graduate.
Yeah.
It would, those that are graduating now probably don't have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
But those that are still in school, I mean, that would absolutely make sense to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is a changing landscape, right?
Yeah.
And what we know today doesn't mean it's going to be true anymore 6 months from now.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of universities are still shut down.
Yeah.
Actually, most that we know.
Well, yeah.
And a lot of the university classes are now moving online.
Yes.
So, I mean, no different than K-12 universities are doing that. So, does that open up the door for students to access more things? I don't know. Can you now take more courses at the leisure of your own time because you don't have to go from class to class anymore.
You don't have to go class. Probably.
Yeah.
Well, probably allow them to broaden their spectrum into different things in their field. Like as you said, maybe the engineer will probably look into robotics now, even though it wasn't a major that they were looking in.
Yeah.
It's like going through the design process on your own life.
Almost ironically a good metaphor.
Yes.
I would say that.
Yeah. Okay, so regarding that, I guess we kind of had different opinions, but then kind of showed me the way.
I mean,
regarding it.
I can see your views, and I
yeah.
think this is what TinkChat really is supposed to be about for me, right? We look up articles about the topic we want to talk about, and my view may not be the right view.
Yeah.
Right.
But well, when you talked about it, it makes sense. But when I was reading the article, like for people that might think, oh, maybe there's no advancement that I can do in this industry anymore. Maybe I should pivot and change into a different career before it's too late.
Right.
So maybe that was the difference. I don't know.
I think it's okay. You know, it's about, because the future is so kind of blurry.
Yeah.
Trying to predict where it's going to go is something that even, I mean, I can't do.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do know is if we were to navigate this thing well, for everyone, not just for Tinkerine, not just for yourself, anyone that's a student, anyone that's a business, anyone that is in any position, navigating this thing well requires a lot of kind of thought.
Yeah.
And there's no one right way. It's just which one is going to give you the best kind of designed outcome for your life. You said it well. Yeah. And you know, you've got maybe 10 choices. Which ones are those? Which one's the best one? And sometimes feedback helps a lot. Yeah. And you know, these conversations, part of it is to invoke thought. Yeah. And part of it is to show the viewers and sometimes even ourselves which direction it's going to go. Yeah. And you know, if I'm right, I think that would be really great because it's a really cool potential future that is there with really great innovations and all that stuff. But it may not be the case. Yeah. And if that's not the case, then I guess we'll work harder to try and get it there. Yeah. I mean, our generation, any of the students that are coming out, I think it's going to take a lot of effort to get there. Yeah. They'll try to survive. Well, I think they'll try and thrive. Try to survive and thrive. I mean, in the circumstances given to them. Yeah. Just different choice of words. Yes. Last of all, we don't have an article for anything, but it's just general changes that would happen. For example, we mentioned earlier business trips. Are they deemed necessary? People are paid to go around the world, and then all the expenses paid for, like hotels, events, everything. Is it necessary to do those anymore, or can we get past it with just a video call? Is it do I really need to meet a client of mine in face to face, or can we just have a video call so we don't have to expense so much? Businesses will have to be thinking about those. Well, I wouldn't recommend flying right now. Yes, essentially, yes. I mean, under absolute circumstances, I mean, flying is you can't avoid. I think there are some circumstances that you should still fly. Yeah. But there are risks that come with that, and then you know the isolation that comes after that. Yeah, that's one thing that we didn't actually look up. Like, what's gonna happen to the flight? Not the flight. I mean, the flight industry. Like, what is gonna happen to them? Like, are they gonna make, like, we've seen the trend over the years? They trying to cram as many people as they can in their plane, but now are they going to have it spread apart? Are flight prices going to skyrocket? I don't, can't fit enough people now. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do. It's a tough. It's not just tough. It's an extremely challenging issue, right? I mean, that whole entire industry. I mean, it's very service centric. Yes. But it's also one where they want to maximize the potential outcome in terms of revenue. Yes. And the only way to do that is to put more people into a but with social distancing, how are you gonna get over that? I don't know. Maybe everyone gets their own like bubble suit or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. But again, I think this is where we're gonna see the innovation. The challenges will be the solution for innovation, and the innovation could be that somehow everyone's in their own like capsule thing, right? Perhaps, yeah. And is that okay? You're in an 8-hour flight, and all you see are 4 walls around you. I don't know. Maybe the window seats will have a higher price. Perhaps. And then the other is, you know, maybe it's. Okay, guys. We just had some technical difficulties with our camera, and I think the episode may be a little too long, and the camera decided that it was not going to have it with us. But we just want to wrap it. We want to wrap this.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, video up.
So Eugene was making a comment about innovation during the flight industry.
And I was going to make a comment at the very end saying that, I mean, we talked about the kind of capsule of four walls, or that it's going to be a change in service innovation. And that comes in the form of, well, maybe you pay a little bit more premium per seat, but it's a little bit more of a comfortable flight.
So it'll be like having business class or first class.
Maybe not to that level, but you know, it's going to change a little bit.
Yes,
I just don't know what the outcome is going to be. There must be a better way to make flyers feel safe, more comfortable, and innovation will come maybe from that front as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, it's actually one more topic that I want to talk about. I was just thinking, like, with the whole COVID pandemic impact on all these industry, and I know a lot of industries or companies actually employ the just-in-time method. Essentially, what just-in-time is once they get the order, they start making right away, and that helps them prevent from all the storage cost and storing all the excess parts that they don't need. So would that still be heavily deployed in companies was one thing that I was thinking about, because now with COVID, all these supply chains are being broken, disrupted. You don't have the parts that you need, so can you actually just-in-time manufacture?
It depends on if the company is set up for that.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, we do just-in-time as best as we can.
Yeah.
And with enough data in the business, we're able to maybe plan a little bit ahead.
Yes.
So we're not literally just in time.
Yeah.
But it also comes with the right technology choices, right? If your company is an assembly plant of sorts, well, just in time may be difficult because you do need the suppliers to be able to get you the parts in order for you to do the assembly.
To do the assembly.
Whereas, like for us, when we do the 3D printing manufacturing, or any of the manufacturing, part of the components are actually manufactured on site.
Yes.
Through 3D printing, laser cutting, and all the other tools that we have. So it depends on if the company has the infrastructure set up for that. Will that change? Will companies buy technology to bring that stuff in-house because of what this COVID scenario has demonstrated to them? Maybe.
Yeah.
And so does that then mean that we bring more manufacturing back home, aka to Canada, to US, to wherever you guys are? That would be interesting. That also means that we'll probably see, and I think this will happen, we'll probably see more advanced technology be deployed. And when I say advanced technology, definitely robotic arms automation.
Yes.
Definitely places will bring on CNC machines for subtractive manufacturing. And I think a new area that a lot of companies will start to adopt if they make any amount of hardware, or if there are any engineering firms or design firms, is 3D printing will be brought in-house to make them run faster. I think naturally the world has seen something interesting with COVID in that the biggest area for response was 3D printing.
Yes.
That this whole entire industry ran in there as if it was a superhero and said we could fix everything because supply chain got so just messed up in this whole entire scenario that the only way to get some of these equipment out into the world was through printing. And the world has seen that. So I think we'll see some of that change happen.
Yeah, I think I already saw it actually. Earlier, there was a customer that dropped by and he was like, I didn't really like, a lot of people still don't know what 3D printing is. But then with this whole pandemic, I thought I'll probably take a stab at what 3D printing is and how it can help me. And from there, I was already surprised, right?
And we're just a conduit to get them going. Right? If this is an individual, if this is a business, chances are they're just testing the landscape of what they can do.
Yes, essentially,
And then at the right moment, with the right technology or funding, they will bring that in-house for sure.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah, he's
Makes sense.
just seeing what this can do for him,
Yep.
and then afterwards, perhaps bring in the technology to help him out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these changes.
Case in point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a long episode, but I think a lot of topics are pretty relevant.
Yeah, it's an important one. I mean, we talked about the crisis response.
Yeah.
That was this is literally what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
If not the next 6 months, 1 year time frame. And
people should start thinking about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And businesses that are coming back should start thinking about this.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is an intriguing episode for any business owner that's watching.
Yeah.
And for those that know business owners, I mean, feel free to share this with them. If it helps, just invoke some thought so that they are able to, see if the business can change. Change for the better.
Yeah, change for a bit. Well, thanks for watching, and for viewers on YouTube, remember to subscribe, click the bell button, and also leave a comment for any issues or questions you have for me and Eugene. And for Anchor and Spotify listeners, unfortunately you don't have that function, but also you can visit us on YouTube and leave that questions or comments there, or you can email us. Yeah, so thanks for watching today, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.